here with author and instructor Jill Wiseman, expert at Kumihimo. You make it seem so simple, and you have a great idea for using leather. I love these bracelets.
Leather gives it a slightly different look. A lot of times you're seeing Kumihimo done with various fibers like yarns and fuzzy things and braiding threads. The leather gives it a more three-dimensional look. It creates an open weave so that you can see that the interior is hollow, and I just think it's kind of a cool, different look.
Oh, definitely. I think it's great.
The weave that I wanted to show us today is also a step beyond the basic round braid that most people start learning Kumihimo with. In this case, to get a more thick braid, we're going to use 16 cords instead of 8 cords, and that gives us this great thickness. It can also be done with 8 cords, but the 16 is where you really see the hollow
and you really
interior.
get that tube shape. Oh,
Exactly.
It looks really cool when it's done.
So it doesn't need to be intimidating. What you're going to do is cut your leather 3 times what you want your finished project length to be. So if you were making a 7-inch bracelet, you'd cut your leather 21 inches for each cord. In this case, we've got 16 cords. That would make a really big overhand knot using 16 cords of leather. So instead of cutting 16, I'm going to cut 8 cords at double the length.
Oh, okay, and fold them in half.
And fold them in half, and that's what I've done here is I've placed them on my loom. They cross over in the middle here, and then I just tied a little bit of a piece of beading cord around the center to keep it centered.
Okay.
We don't even, since we're making a bracelet, we don't even have to deal with bobbins. We can just let these hang loose. The cords are placed equidistant from each other around the disc. You want to use 2 colors to start out with. It's much easier to see what's going on. I lead with one color going into a dot, and then I follow with the second color. You're going to have to kind of create a dot halfway between the 4 that are already on your loom. In this particular case, it is important to know where your top is. And so what I like to do, this is a cheap little foam loom, take a pen, draw an arrow, now you know where your top is.
Great.
When we get working on this, it's a very simple set of moves that we'll be doing. You're going to start working with all one color. So in this case, we'll be working with the white color. You'll take the left cord on the top and move it to the first open position next to the next white cord. You'll take the middle and move it to the next open position. You'll take the middle, you're crossing over 1 and taking it to the next open position. Middle, cross over 1, take the middle, cross over 1, take the middle, cross over 1. And you just keep going around until you get back to the top. Your very last middle will come right back next to the arrow where the top was.
Okay, so that's why it's important to have your marking there. So you
Exactly,
know where
so you know where to stop. At this point, we have to do what I call resetting the loom. Now these cords are not sitting right next to each other anymore. So we're going to make them sit next to each other, which means we can keep going in the same clockwise direction around the loom, and we're going to move those white cords so that they're sitting right next to the black cords. And that gets us right back to where we were when we started.
Okay.
The last half of this is now we have to reverse and go counterclockwise and do the same thing with the black cord. So we're crossing over, first open position, take the middle, cross over, take the middle, cross over. And you'll work your way all the way around to the top.
Okay.
This is, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You can actually add beads to this. It makes it a little stiffer, so you might just want to do it as a center focal piece when you're adding the beads.
This bracelet here.
Exactly. And the way you would do that is you're going to pick one of your colors. I would take, in this case, the white cord, and pick up 1 seed bead. This has a size 3 seed bead. It has a nice big hole, and it'll fit over the leather. And then you're still going to create your same set of moves that you would normally. And you would just pick up a bead every time on that round.
Okay, on the white cords only.
On white cords only, yeah.
Okay.
And when you reverse and do the black cords, you don't worry about beads at all.
All right, so you could use that as an accent. How do you measure when you're getting close to the middle? Is that when you would start adding your beads?
Exactly. You have to kind of know where you're going for your measurement, and then you can work off that of how much you want your center focal to be, and then
To the end of the
to
braid.
the end of the braid, right.
Okay.
So when you're done, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. And by not using that big overhand knot, we have this nice, what I call a clean end start. I've already finished off one end of this, but we'll finish this off together. This, I've already taken the liberty of taking a beading thread and binding the end. It's just going to be a temporary measure to hold it until the glue takes care of everything else. We'll cut the leather right above that cord, that binding.
Oh, okay. So you want to make sure that you tie it fairly tight
Fairly
so that
tight.
it doesn't completely unravel. as you're
Exactly.
cutting.
It's a sad moment when that happens. Not that
bet.
it's ever happened to me.
Right. Hey, I've learned some of the best tips from making those kinds of mistakes.
Exactly, it's so true. So I like to use an industrial strength glue here. And this can be a little toxic, so you might want to use gloves if you're chemically sensitive. I prefer the toddler method.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to get glue around the cord, around the binding here. I take a little piece of beading wire and I poke it right through the center of the braid. Pull those ends up. Then you'll take the end cap and string that over the two beading wires here. Now this is the one little tricky part. You have to work this end cap over all of these cords of leather. And one of the things I've found that helps is to twist it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And get it on down in there. After you've done that, you're going to take a bead to kind of stopper the end of the end cap. Then you'll string a crimp on after the bead. And then you would string your clasp on and finish it like normal. Clasp end, back through the crimp and the seed bead.
Great.
And then just crimp it down.
Okay.
And then you do want to wait about 24 hours for the glue to dry completely before you start wearing it out dancing.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your necklace on the
It would be
dance floor,
sad. It
or your
really
bracelet.
would.
It really would. Well, let's take another look at these finished pieces because these are just so beautiful.
Thanks.
This is a great technique, and what a great way to finish it with beads in the center.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And just because I did it as a bracelet, you certainly can make it longer and make it a necklace too.